Right, guys, they did it again. The Denver Broncos did it again. They made our Sunday just a little bit sweeter. And now that we're getting into the home stretch of the season, now that we're just about a month plus away from the end, I think it's good that I make this video every week just to see where we stand with this pick and what could be coming up, what to expect, what to watch for. You know, I didn't want to do this every week for the whole year. It would have been silly. But now that we're here, now that this pick is going to be so high, now that this is looking such a sweet situation, I think we got to do this once a week. So, Denver Broncos lose again, 10-9 to the Ravens. They made us sweat. They did. Ravens, look, they were losing guys left and right. Lamar had 20 yards in this game and then left with an injury, didn't come back. They lost Isaiah Likely to a concussion, I believe it was. They lost, I think it was Patrick Queen to an injury. Looked pretty significant too, by the way. They lost a couple other guys as well. I can't remember all the guys the Ravens lost, but guys were dropping like flies. A lot of injuries for the Ravens. And they had to overcome getting the ball at their own 9-yard line, needing a touchdown to save the game. They had to overcome multiple fourth downs that they had to pick up to keep the game alive. They had to overcome this ridiculous, terrible, awful trick play attempt close to the red zone that took 3, if not 7 points off the board for them. They had to do all those things, and then they had to survive the Russell Wilson game-winning drive right at the end. They had to survive that 63-yard field goal that, was well short, probably a good 6 or 7 yards short, but they had to survive all that, and they found a way and got that win, and they made us all happy. Whenever the Broncos lose, it makes the Seahawks wins. Obviously, we're Seahawks fans. We're most invested in the Seahawks winning. But when the Broncos lose, it makes the Seahawks wins just a little bit better. And when the Seahawks lose, it makes the losses just a little bit better. So it's just adding a little bit of flavor. Seahawks win, great. Seahawks lose, that sucks, but Denver keeps making it better every single week, it seems like, and they moved to 3-9. Their offense is now officially scoring less than 2 TDs per game. They're down to 13.8 points per game, and that's actually the whole team, not just the offense. The only other offenses in NFL history that have scored less than 2 touchdowns a game since the year 2000 would be the 2000 Cleveland Browns and the 2006 Raiders. So this is a historically bad offense. Now, I will say this game did prove to a certain extent that this Broncos team is not giving up yet. They are not rolling over. Their defense played tough. Their defense did a lot of good things. They forced some turnovers. They got sacks, got good pressure on whoever was playing quarterback. And it was pulling teeth for the Ravens to even get to 10 points. That was hard work for these Ravens. They managed it. But I think that we can say that this Broncos team is not rolling over and dying yet, which is a credit to them because they are playing for the definition of a lame duck coach. They all know he's not going to be there next year. They are playing for a $250 million quarterback that is playing like one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL, maybe the worst starter at this point other than Kyle Allen. And they're not giving up on defense. They're fighting. They're staying in the fight. So we got to talk about where this could go, because obviously right now we're in a really good spot. If you go over to Tankathon, you can see we're currently number 3. And I really just want to focus in on this top 8 because this is where the pick is going to land. What it would take for Denver's pick to get out of the bottom 8 would be, at this point, ridiculous to even imagine. They still got to play the Chiefs twice. They got to play the Chargers. Even the Cardinals are not a completely terrible team. You can't completely assume that they're going to... you can't assume that just because the Cardinals are bad, they're on the same level as Denver. They're not. And then you got that Rams game, which is lingering around. We don't know what we're going to get there, but we'll talk about that when we get there. But this pick is going to be somewhere in here. In here, you can see you've got the Texans, who are way above everybody else in terms of losing and ineptitude. And then you've got a bunch of 3-win and 4-win teams. So the goal is to find a way to get the Denver pick above the Bears pick. And in order to do that, they're going to have to lose out because, unfortunately, the Bears let us down. The Bears let us down yesterday. You look at the schedule, you can see that was their last chance at a win. They had a big lead, and they blew it. Great opportunity for them to steal a win. Couldn't make it happen. Now they've got the Eagles, the Bills, the Vikings, all elite playoff-bound teams, and then the Lions, who are playing really good football lately. So you can kind of pencil in the Bears for a 3-14 season. The good news is the Bears' strength of schedule is still really good. 57%, over 57. Denver's is dropped down to 48. The odds of Chicago's strength of schedule ending up below Denver's at this point is tiny. It's too many points to make up with only 5 weeks left. Now, the strength of schedule on this window is not completely up to date because I don't believe it's been updated to reflect the Cowboys-Colts game last night, but it's going to be very close to what you see anyway. So I'm not that worried because the Bears are going to have their bye week next week. And if the Broncos lose next week to the Chiefs of all teams, they're going to be ahead of them. So if the Broncos lose, they will move up to the number 2 overall pick, which obviously we then have. They're going to have the same record as the Bears and a much worse strength of schedule. But for the reasons I just said, the Broncos cannot win another game. If the Broncos win another game, we're going to have a problem because the Bears, I mean, you think they're winning any of these games? Do they have a chance in any of them? They got one not very good team in the Lions, and the Lions are playing really well lately, so I'm not seeing it. I don't see how that happens. So if you want the number 2 pick, you need the Broncos to keep losing. However, if they keep losing, then you're pretty much locked into number 2. It's almost impossible for it to be anywhere else. I don't see the Texans winning any games. Just putting that out there while we're here. Now, you look at the Rams pick next. They're basically even with the Broncos. The strength of schedule gap has gotten a little bit bigger. But basically, the Denver LA game I think it's in a couple weeks, that's going to decide who picks higher. The loser gets the higher pick. Or should I say, the loser sends the higher pick to another team. Because the Rams pick is obviously going to the Lions as well. So that game is going to decide everything in terms of how this goes. And if the Broncos beat the Rams, then we don't really need to worry about the Bears that much at that point because the Broncos will have won a game, and that should be more than enough to make them pick below wherever Chicago is. If the Broncos do win that game, their pick probably goes below them. The question then is, are we going to pick at 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8? That's how I see this breaking out. You take a look at these teams that are at 4 wins right now. The only team that has a weaker strength of schedule than Denver right now in this list is Carolina. Carolina's strength of schedule is actually really bad. It's below 45. So if the Broncos get to 4 wins, then their pick is going to be below Carolina's unless Carolina wins another game. Now, these other teams, they have average strength of schedules or slightly above average. New Orleans, Jacksonville, Arizona. And those teams, I think, are likely to win at least one more game. I'm not as concerned about them. So it's very likely Denver's still going to pick above them, even if they beat the Rams. The Panthers are the team to watch. And if you take a look at the Panthers' schedule, we should find out quickly because they're going to Seattle in a week, playing the Seahawks. The way the Seahawks are playing on defense, that game could absolutely go Carolina's way. I don't think that it will, but it's certainly on the table. And then you have Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, definitely a winnable game. And then after that, you get the Lions, again, playing really well lately. The Bucks, and the Saints, Feels like there's another win in there, isn't there? Like Pittsburgh is not good. Tampa Bay is playing average at best football, and Carolina already blew the doors off Tampa earlier this year. New Orleans is not good. Something's going to happen here, it feels like. The Panthers are probably going to win one more game. So what I'm trying to say is, if the Broncos win one more game this year, the Rams game specifically, because that's obviously the one that they have the biggest chance to win, Broncos pick is going to move below where the Rams pick, but I think it's going to settle there. I think we're going to get the number 4 pick. So that would be my guess right now. For those of you who kind of want to know what the stakes are, the ways this can break, I think that is what we're looking at here. If the Broncos lose to the Rams, we are getting the number 2 pick. If the Broncos beat the Rams when they play head-to-head. Which, I mean, that game to me strikes me as a big coin flip. But if that happens, I think we end up at 4. Possibly 5, but I think Carolina gets one more win. And I think the rest will take care of itself. That's my read. And that's a pretty big swing. In most drafts, maybe not. But this draft, I think this is a 3-player tier 1. I'll talk more about this later. To me, if you look at this draft, you've got C.J. Stroud, Will Anderson, and Jalen Carter. And then after that, I don't know who the 4th is. Is it Bryce Young? I don't really like Bryce Young that much. Is it Miles Murphy? He doesn't feel like a tier 1 player to me. He doesn't feel like a future Hall of Famer. So, us getting that last Denver loss, their last winnable game this year, the Toilet Bowl, seeing the Rams find a way to win that game, and the way the Rams played today or yesterday against us, they may very well have the opportunity to win that game. And they played pretty well. So hopefully that holds. Because the difference between the number 2 pick and the number 4 pick in this draft, pretty monumental, I think. All right, so let me know what you guys think. But I wanted to quickly just sum up the stakes here. Let's assume Denver loses 2 games to the Chiefs, the Chargers, both good teams. Chargers are okay. Let's assume they lose to the Cardinals. Cardinals are bad, but they're certainly better than Denver. It all comes down to that one game against the Rams. I believe it is the difference between the number 2 overall pick and the number 4 overall pick. If you disagree, let me know. But stuff is on the line here, people. And I can't believe we're here right now. Stuff is beautiful. All right. More videos coming later today. Go Hawks. I want to hear what you guys think. Who do you want? Do you think it's going to break out some different way? Do you think Denver might have 2 wins in them? I want to hear it. See you guys later.